Yeah.
Oh, you're doing it, okay. I thought we had a videographer.
No.
All right, we're a couple of minutes early, but we'll call it 7. Split the difference between the wall clock and my clock. All right, everybody, welcome to the meeting of the Harwich Board of Appeals on this November 17th, 2021. The purpose of this meeting is to hear and decide applications before the Board of Appeals, which have been brought pursuant to the bylaw of the Town of Harwich and the Massachusetts Zoning Enabling Act. Our first 2 cases are carried over from October, when we had the nor'easter. There was no power, so they canceled everything. Let's see, I don't think I've got any more general announcements, so I will ask our clerk, Mr. Dot, well, we should introduce ourselves first, I'm sorry. Brian?
Brian Sullivan.
James Armstrong?
Dave Ryer?
Al Donahue.
Chris Murphy?
Tim Bailey.
And Shayla Delaney, secretary.
Okay, I will ask Mr. Donahue, our clerk, to call our first case, please.
All right, case number 2021-44, it's continued from 10/27/21. Joseph G. and Kristen M. Schultz, through their agent, Attorney William Kroll, have applied for a special permit or any alternative, a variance to demolish, replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, 325-54, and Table 325, Table 2. Area regulation is set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 10. The property is located at 16 Clausen Lane, Map 7, Parcel A29, in RH1 zoning district.
Okay, we'll ask Attorney Kroll to identify himself for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney William Kroll from Harwich Court, and I have seated with me Joseph Schultz. Joseph and Joe and Kristen, his wife, own the property in question at 16 Clausen Lane.
Before you start your presentation, let me just tell you who will be voting. We'll have Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Donahue, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Bailey. I will not vote on this case.
Thank you.
So with that interruption, you may present your petition, please.
And something to look forward to, I'm not going to be here the vacation week after Christmas. So your next scheduled meeting, I believe, will be December 30th.
Correct.
So you're going to get a break.
Well, we're sorely disappointed. We hope you have a great vacation.
I plan on it, we plan on it. So, Mr. and Mrs. Schultz are seeking a special permit to demolish and replace the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling at 16 Quasin Lane. As per the certified plot plan, the existing conditions plan, and the proposed condition plan by Moran Engineering, and the building and elevation plans by Karen Kempton, architect, submitted with the petition. The existing dwelling is non-conforming at 20 feet from the easterly lot line on Quasin Lane. The proposed dwelling is going to be 20.1 feet, so it's going to improve by 1/10 of a foot. The proposed dwelling will also maintain the 2.6-foot setback from the northerly boundary and will come closer to the southerly boundary from 26.6 feet to 20.5. So it still, as you know, has to be 20 feet from that southerly boundary. Otherwise, it's a Dedrick case situation where we would be creating a new nonconformity, and that's not allowed. Under the, unless we sought a variance. So we still would be 20 feet from the southerly lot line, and the rear setback would remain conforming at the 27 foot mark. The building coverage is presently 21.2%. will increase to the maximum of 30%, but still allowed at 30%. The existing site coverage is not, already non-conforming, so we've got a Gale case situation there. We're intensifying the existing non-conformity by means of a special permit. It's at 38.9%, 35% is the maximum, so a little bit over that, and would increase somewhat to 46.3%. So on the northerly side and the easterly sides, we'd be increasing, we are increasing the structure somewhat. It's a little bit wider than the existing structure on the northerly side and along the easterly side. So there's a little bit more habitable space, but under our bylaw, you're allowed to continue along the same line, as long as you don't increase that. Under the Gale case, you could increase it with a special permit finding that it's not a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. But we're not seeking to increase that nonconformity on either the northerly side or the easterly side. We are seeking to increase the site coverage somewhat. So I think it's a classic Gale case situation where we are intensifying the nonconformity somewhat due to the expansion of the dwelling, the habitable space of the dwelling. But it probably falls within our bylaw that we're continuing along the same line without increasing that nonconformity. We've submitted the building plans for your review. Beautiful house that the Schultzes are proposing. We've submitted a denial letter from the building department. The Board of Health submitted some comments. Dan Croto from Moran Engineering has indicated that he's in the process of filing with the Board of Health because it's going to be a fully compliant septic system. Not requesting any variances, it's going to be fully compliant. As shown on the proposed conditions plan, it shows you over on the left-hand side, it says proposed new 5-bedroom septic system, which will be fully compliant and not need any dimensional variances. So we'll take care of the Board of Health, as you know, as you routinely say, that's their jurisdiction, not yours. But to get our building permit, we would have to address the Board of Health issues, of course. So our contention is that we would ask that you grant a special permit due to the fact that we do not envision any substantial increase in noise, odors, fumes, congestion, traffic, or the like, would not create any nuisance, and there would be no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood if the board sees its way to grant a special permit. As you know, it's entire neighborhood, not just an immediate abutter. It has to be a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. And we'd ask that you grant the special permit this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Hi, thank you. Excuse me. I got one question, a couple of comments, and I think it's a well-devised plan. Let me preface that. The Board of Health indicated about a plan back in April of 2000. Was there a
The Board of
Building-
Health, did you say?
The Board of Health indicated about not having a plan, you know, no increase in square footage beyond the plan of April of 2000.
Yes.
Was there a previous building plan that was submitted, or was the house back then revised in 2000?
I don't know if it was revised, the house was renovated, but they needed a new septic system, and it was probably because they were selling the property.
I see.
That
Okay.
triggers the septic review. And so they had to install a new Title V septic system, and to do that, they needed a variance or two. And when you ask the Board of Health for a variance or two, it's quid pro quo time, and they want something in return.
Yeah.
So they say, we're gonna put some restrictions on, and that you're not to have any subsequent increase in square footage, habitable space, or number of bedrooms without coming back to them
Sure,
for
okay.
their
All
approval. So that's what that's all about.
right, thank you.
Yep.
And let me just preface this for a moment. You know, I'm standing up because I want to be able to
Thank
see
you.
you, and I'm looking at
Sure.
Shayla and Mil. As I mentioned, I want to preface the fact that I think it's a well-developed plan, and how we've been, I think, looking at plans in the past, I think it's not a substantial detriment to the neighborhood. But I just kind of have a question as far as overall, and this has to do with site coverage. And I know in this particular case, you're currently looking for about a 19% increase over the site coverage that currently exists, okay? And
19, did you say?
9%.
9%.
if I divide things out, it's 9%, but percentage-wise, it's 19%. If you.
Sorry, I'm not following that, Mr.
A
Chairman.
19% increase over the current.
Current. It's 9% points more, but it's percentage-wise, the 46 is 19% over the,
Over what, the 35%?
the 35, no, it's 32% over the 35. So it's 130% of the required from the town. And the increase, and I'm sorry, let me just grab that out. The increase to 46.3, it actually, it shows if you do the math, unless I did it wrong,
No, you did it right, so.
It's 19%.
46.3.
It's
increase
19%.
from 38.9 to 20% or 19%.
19% increase, okay? Not, and again,
I'm not agreeing, I'm just listening to what you're saying.
okay. So what my question here is, and again, this is not a new nonconformity that you developed here, but it just seems like a lot of properties that would come before the board, and I want to raise it after the meeting. We keep raising the bar, like this neighbor is up 9, 10, 15%, and then all of a sudden the next neighbor's going and he looks at the neighborhood, and now it becomes, at what point does site coverage under the Gale case at all, besides, is it just a limit to the detriment of the neighborhood? Because will the next one be 60% for site coverage? You know, and that's my question here is,
Well, in the,
how do we view that going forward? Okay, in your opinion, attorney?
May I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
As the chairman knows, the law is all about line drawing.
Correct.
Where do you draw the line? And that's why we have a Board of Appeals,
I realize that.
is to decide where we're gonna draw the line, and it doesn't have to be the same in every case. You look at all of the circumstances of the entire case, what's being proposed, and then you can decide, well, in this case, it's okay, in another case, maybe it's different, it's not okay. You decide in your discretion what's a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. Is increasing the site coverage from 38.9 to 46.3, is that a substantial detriment to the will that result in a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood? I, of course, would say, no, it isn't. It's a 9% increase over what's there now. The Gale case says you can intensify an existing nonconformity. We're not creating it, we can intensify it. It sounds somewhat counterintuitive, but that's what the Gale case says.
And I'm not
You can
disagreeing with
intensify.
you.
So, where do we draw the line? I would not draw the line in this case at 46.3, but Mr. Schultz might get up and walk out.
Maybe 46.4, but that's okay.
If we were talking, if I was sitting here saying, okay, we want to go to 60%, well, maybe that's substantial at that point. But I don't think going from 38.9 to 46.3 is substantial.
I think the key is substantial to the detriment of the neighborhood, not just substantial in numbers.
Right, and I just like, in new business, I'd like to have a little discussion about this. I mean, again, I do feel this property, this development, I looked at the neighborhood, looked at this, and I think it's in my opinion, it's well done, and I'm in favor of it, okay? But I keep looking at all the properties and wonder, as this one increases 9%, then the next door neighbor is gonna look at this, and he's gonna be another 10% over that, at what point are we gonna find ourselves really jamming these lots with development?
I have
That's all.
Two comments. One is, this board routinely says we're not bound by precedent. We decide each case on its own individual merits, so just because Schultz gets a 9% increase does not mean the guy down the street.
I understand.
Okay. The other comment is that I'm here fairly often in front of you folks for the last, starting now, 44 years. And there's one part of the of one element here that this board has, in my opinion, not paid much attention to. It's been site coverage. Building coverage, yes, but site coverage, no. That doesn't seem to be addressed. I don't recall the last time that site coverage was a big issue.
Okay, thank you. Well, that's all,
Jamie?
I'm fine.
I have no questions, thanks.
The only comment is I do think it, as Attorney Kroll says, that we're intensifying an existing nonconformity, not creating a new one. So I believe this justifies a special permit under the bylaw, and it's additionally supported by the Gale case. So I think a special permit would be appropriate. Al?
Yes, I'm in agreement with the Gale case as well on this one here, so I have no questions.
Chris?
Yeah, the key on, if you increase it significantly, the site coverage is a detrimental interest. And I was looking at the property, and I was just getting out of my car, and this couple was walking by, and they just happened to be having a conversation. And they looked at the house and said, well, I heard, and they must have got some notification that this is being replaced, the owners want to do something. That ought to make a really nice improvement to the neighborhood. It was interesting they made that comment, so. A lot of those houses are tight, a lot of site coverage. I see no problems with this.
Tim?
I have no questions.
Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this application? Hearing no one, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second? Motion
Second.
from Al, second from Chris. Discussion on the motion?
Nope.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed, 5-0.
Okay,
I'll entertain a motion in the case.
all right. There will be conditions
Wait,
placed.
I do think we need the conditions. though,
Conditions,
Yes.
yes. All right, given the fact that this property is in a congested area, we're gonna have to put conditions regarding when the property can be developed into the new plan. Joseph G. and Kristen M. Schultz, through their agent William Kroll, has been granted a special permit to demolish and replace pre-existing, non-conforming, single-family dwelling. The application pursuant to the town of Harwich 32554 and table, 325 table 2, area regulation as set forth in MGL Section 40A, Section 6, Section 10. The property is located at 16 Quasit Lane. This permit is granted, subject to the following conditions. There shall be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping during the period of June 30 to Labor Day of any year. During the lifetime of this project.
that one doesn't
That
count.
doesn't count, that's right,
That's
yeah,
the last
okay.
one there.
It is a condition of this approval, a violation of the terms of the conditions of the special permit may be enforced as a violation of the Harwich zoning bylaw pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Section 7, and the Harwich zoning bylaw, as these may be amended from time to time.
Could I have a second on that motion, please? Second, Brian Sullivan. Any discussion by the board on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion is unanimously carried. Your special permit is granted. Good luck with your project, sir.
Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving all.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
Take these, Joe.
is it?
I mean, that's not somewhat that. Still, you don't need to probably get a lot of land out. Really, the stamp didn't come out too well there, but I guess it's okay, just there isn't
That's
much
good.
ink on it. Okay, now we call our next case, please.
Case number 2021-45, 44, okay, it's continued, excuse me. It's case number 2021-45, again continued from 10/27/21. Richard Rocco, successor, trustee of the Hiawatha Road Irrevocable Trust, through their agent attorney, William Kroll, has applied for a special permit or any alternative variance to construct a screen porch, a front porch, and finish the basement of a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The application pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich 325, Table 2, Area Regulation, as set forth in Chapter 40A, Section 6 and Section 10. The property is located at 44 Hiawatha Road, Map 6, Parcel B1-7, located in RH1 zoning district.
Okay, Attorney Kroll, on this one, we'll have voting Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Armstrong, me, Mr. Donahue, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Bailey will not vote on this case. And with that, you can introduce yourself for the record, please, and present your petition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney William Kroll from Harwich Port, and I'm here this evening with Richard Rocco, seated to my right, and he's the successor trustee, as Mr. Donahue read, of the Hiawatha Road Irrevocable Trust concerning number 44 Hiawatha Road. This property is located southerly of Lower County. All three petitions this evening are southerly of Lower County, sort of in the same area, general area. And Mr. Rocco is seeking a special permit to construct a screen porch, as well as a front porch shown on the plan, and finish off the existing basement as per the certified plot plan by Down Cape Engineering, and the building and elevation plans by Phoenix Architects. But primarily, he's seeking a three-season porch on what's currently an existing deck. And this screened-in porch will not come any closer to the northerly lot line than the existing dwelling. It's at 13.1 feet. The deck currently exists at 13.1 feet, and he's simply enclosing the deck and making it into a three-season room. No heat, but it will create a new structure within the 20-foot setback at 13.1 feet. It's not creating habitable space, because you have to have heat in order to be habitable space. It's creating new structure. Similarly, the basement, as he finishes the basement, would also create habitable space within the 20-foot setback on both the northerly and southerly boundaries. But that basement already exists, and again, he will deal with whatever issues the Board of Health might have concerning the basement and making sure nobody's sleeping down there and so forth, and that it's a recreation area. The proposed renovations, I should address the porch. There's a little bit of a little porch shown on the proposed plan, and it will be set back 25 feet from Hiawatha Road, so it's not creating a new nonconformity, but it's going to be on the north and south sides, probably within the 20-foot setback. But he and his wife would like to have that front porch, as shown on the plan. So they're seeking three things, which is the three-season porch, the front porch, and finishing off the basement. The proposed renovations will remain below the building coverage maximum at 22.8% and below the maximum site coverage at 33.1%. So the new structure concerning the deck will be within the 20-foot setback, so it constitutes an intensification of an existing nonconformity, as well as finishing off the basement because it will be within 20 feet of the setbacks on northerly and southerly sides, and the porch, a little bit of the porch on the front, on the north and southerly sides, may be within the 20-foot setback. So those are Gale case situations. They would be an intensification of existing nonconformities. But as you know, the Gale case allows this board, by means of a special permit, to allow these renovations to take place upon a finding that they will not constitute a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. Finally, we would also argue that there would be no substantial increase in noise, fumes, odors, congestion, traffic, or the like, as well as no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood, and ask that the board grant the special permit this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian?
Hey, thank you. I thought the plans are going to really nicely increase the use of the house, which is important in the Gale case. The only question I have was, and again, walking the property, in the revised plan for the proposed rear elevation, what happened to the bulkhead? I mean, when you're redoing the basement, I don't see on the, is there still gonna be a bulkhead in the rear, in the same location? Because in looking at the current plan, I just didn't know where the bulkhead was coming out, okay?
I have the answer, Mr. Chairman, to the bulk
Go
of the
ahead.
question.
Yes.
On the proposed plan by Downcave, you see southerly of the deck, on that side of the house, it shows a doghouse type dormer there, but it's really an entryway
Yeah.
to the basement. That's where that's what
Oh,
happened to the
okay, so
bulkhead.
now you're, okay, so that's what's enhancing. Nicely done. Okay. That's, I'm all set, that's my only question.
I'm sorry, Jamie?
Thanks. No questions, thank you.
I'm looking at the plan, and on the northerly side, the deck in the back there, it's the double line, but then it kind of squiggles around and goes alongside the existing house. What's going on there? I see it looks like you're putting in some new windows.
Oh, yes, the new windows are going there, yes. There's gonna be 3 new windows where the stove was. They're gonna flip-flop the kitchen.
My client says that's gonna be 3 new windows right
Okay.
there.
I saw that on the plan, but I wasn't sure if that's the only thing that was there or not.
They are flipping the kitchen inside, so they're gonna have windows there.
That's where the stove is now, but where the stove is.
I see, all right.
Okay, that's all I have. Al?
Something I had left out when I read this into the record, there has been a number of letters that have been sent in with regard to this property. I'm not gonna read them into the record. There were a number on the plus side that were in favor of it and a few were against it. So I'm sure that you're well aware of the correspondence that was received.
We are, thank you, yes. And if you're keeping track, there were 6 letters in favor and 2 opposed.
I have no further questions.
Chris?
I have no questions.
Tim,
I have no questions.
is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this petition? Nobody? Nobody. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Somebody voting?
So move.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chris, okay, Chris, second please.
Second.
Second, Jamie, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now closed. I'll entertain a motion in the case.
Okay, case number 2021-45, the continued case from 10/27/21. Richard Rocco, successor trustee of the Hiawatha Road Irrevocable Trust, through their agent. Attorney William Kroll has applied for a special permit and been granted by the board a special permit to construct a screen porch, a front porch, and finish the basement of pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, and the application pursuant to the town of Code of Howard, code, the town of Harwich, 125, Table 2, area regulation is set forth as MGL Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 10. The property is located at 44 Hiawatha Road, map 6, parcel B1-7, located in the RH1 zoning district. There will be conditions on this property as well as with the preceding property. Shall be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping during the period of June 30 to Labor Day of any year. Is a condition of this approval of a violation of the terms and conditions of this special permit may be enforced as a violation of the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaw as these may be amended from time to time.
Can I have a second on Al's motion, please? Second from Jamie. Discussion, as I stated in the last case, I think it's very similar. The applicant is intensifying one or more existing nonconformities, not creating any new nonconformity. I believe the improvements will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. As Al noted, 2 neighbors sent in letters in opposition, but by my count, there were 7, not 6, letters in favor. So certainly the bulk of the neighborhood, the immediate neighbors, are in favor of this and don't see any detriment to their properties. This application, I believe it meets the requirements of the Gale case and the Diedrich case, because there's no new nonconformity being created, so I believe the special permit is appropriate. Any comments from anyone else?
If I may, on the restriction, my client intends to have this project all done by July 1,
If not
And-
earlier.
if not early, and any vehicles will be parked on the property. So it should, we have no objection to the restriction, but it should not be an
I
issue.
prefer to leave it, given the supply chain situation. 7 weeks later, we're still waiting for our dishwasher. So.
Thanks for the pep talk, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure he does intend, but you know, it's not that easy to get materials. All right, no further discussion. All in favor of granting the special permit? Aye. Special permit granted unanimously. Good luck on your project, sir.
Thank you, good
Thank you,
luck.
gentlemen. Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, take care.
Absolutely.
Folks, I just want to thank you. We've been here since 1962. And I've been born and raised down here, working at Thompson's, working the beaches. And my daughters are now doing the same.
That's
We're
great.
not going anywhere. We're going to be full-time.
Great.
Got to get closer to retirement. This is our goal. Thank you so much.
Our
Good
pleasure.
luck.
Enjoy the board.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
You'll love the porch.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.
I'll talk to you very soon.
Yep, all right.
All right, Shayla, there's those documents. One clip. Okay,
Tax
Al, if you
written
could
already.
call our last case, please.
Case number 2021-46, Scott R. Jordan, through his agent, Attorney William Kroll, has applied for special permit or an alternative a variance to demolish, replace pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, as well as detached one-story wood frame building and shed. The applicant is pursuant to the code of the town of Harwich, 325-54, and 325, Table 2, area regulation as set forth in MGL, Chapter 40A, Section 6 and 10. The property is located at 22 Northern Ave, Map 6, Parcel ES17 and ES18 in RH1 zoning district.
I think that's E5, but that's
Is it
okay.
5?
I think it's a 5. All right, on this case, we'll have voting. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Donahue, Mr. Murphy, and Mr. Bailey. I will not vote on this case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Attorney William Kroll from Harwich Port, and I have here with me the owner of the property, Scott Jordan, as well as his moral supporters, his wife Erin, and his mother Barbara. They are all in favor, so they're not, when you get to the public comment, they're all yes.
Brought in the heavy hitters.
So, Scott is seeking to demolish and replace the pre-existing non-conforming single-family residence, as well as the detached one-story wood frame building and the shed, as per the existing conditions plans and proposed condition plans by Coastal Engineering, and the building and elevation plans by Karen Kempton Architecture. The new residence, this is a busy plan. I understand that. That's the way Coastal chose to do it. The new residence will have a rec room / office to the rear, attached as part of the dwelling by a building code compliant breezeway. So it'll be part of the building, the dwelling. There is an existing, call it a bunkhouse there. Nobody sleeps there, not allowed to sleep there. The new rec room will be a rec room office for Scott to work remotely. No sleeping quarters, and it's very important to him. If you notice that that office is moving 7 feet closer to the lot line, the pre-existing nonconformity, so we're seeking to intensify that. But it's moving to the west 7 feet. Why? Because sometimes he likes to look out at the ocean from his office while he's working there. And it gives him a nice view of the ocean to look down the side of that house towards Northern Avenue and towards the sea. So that's why we're seeking to push that over to the west a little bit. But it's not for sleeping purposes. We will have to satisfy the Board of Health, and we will on that basis. And it will be connected to the existing dwelling, but it's an existing structure there anyway. It's non-conforming at 14.7. And I had Coastal, I brought my magnifying glass with me, if I could see it. But I had Coastal put in that it's 14.7. The existing cottage or bunkhouse is 14.7 feet from that corner. So it's pre-existing nonconformity, and we're seeking to have it be 7.1 feet. I'm sorry, 7.2 feet from that side. When you're looking at the front setback from Northern Avenue, it's currently a half a foot right on the road. It's going to step it back, make it a little bit better at 2.5 feet for the new dwelling. And I already mentioned I did not mention on the east side, it's currently 3.6 feet, and that will be set back to 7.1 feet. So he's improving the setbacks, improving the nonconformities on both the southerly side and the easterly side, and I've explained why we want to go closer on the westerly side. The existing building coverage is currently 17.8%, 30% maximum. It will go up to 24.1, but still well below the 30. And the existing non-conforming site coverage is 43.3, Mr. Sullivan, and will increase somewhat to 50.1. Only 7% this time, instead of 9%. But it's very similar to the first case, in all seriousness. The new attached rec room / office will include habitable space, and it's within the 20-foot setback, so that would constitute an intensification of an existing nonconformity, as will the proposed increase in the site coverage to 50.1%. So I would be making the same, I am making the same argument in this case as I did in the first case, because they're very similar in that the intensification of the nonconformities would not result in a substantial increase in noise, odors, fumes, congestion, traffic, or the like, not create a nuisance. And there would be no substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood if the board saw its way to granting a special permit this evening. Thank you.
Brian?
Oh, thank you. Now, as you said, attorney, that every case is different, and I will point out that that increase in the site coverage to the 50% range, a lot of that increase has to do with, I believe, in putting in a patio, which is obviously on the ground, low, and really doesn't, it's not additional building height, or it's not a structure, you know, so it's, that increase is even, you know, more favorable than in the first case.
Thank you.
But, so in looking at the plans, because obviously it's, the site coverage does include what you do for non-pervious situations and
Yes, it's not
yeah.
structure, but it's
on the ground.
impervious
So to
material.
me, that's not the same, at 50% isn't that much of an increase, given, you know, as far as on structures and so forth.
Very good point, thank you.
My pleasure. Trying to help you out here.
Anything else?
That's it, I'm done.
Just so I'm clear on it,
Yes.
so the cottage itself then is going to become the office, and that's going to be attached to the,
It already was an office.
okay.
It wasn't a cottage,
I'm
nobody
just
slept
referring
there.
to the site plan.
It says cottage, it doesn't have sleeping quarters.
Yeah, I understand the
So-
distinction.
Now it's gonna be attached to the dwelling with the breezeway, yes.
Okay, so it's, yeah, okay. And the shed's remaining and the garage,
No, the
coming out.
shed's leaving,
Oh, okay.
the garage is staying.
the garage is staying. Okay, great. That's what I thought.
Is there going to be a cellar under the office?
Storage.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Al?
What I find interesting is the Harbor View Road. That garage, if I'm not mistaken, is number 27.
Yes, it is.
So there's a separate address for the Harbor View side. Now, behind the garage, there is a building. What was that referred to as?
Behind the garage,
It's got, it opened, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't that open up into the backyard? It looks like a storage, good-sized storage shed. Am I thinking of
where's the
something
shed
else?
right now? Shed is,
The shed's right
shed's
there.
behind the office, rec room, right now.
Okay, well, there's,
And that's being demolished and not replaced.
okay, so there's a smaller shed, I think, on the Harbor View side of the property. No?
I didn't-
just a garage. Okay. All right, well, disregard all that then.
If there was, we'd rely on coastal to show it, and they're not showing it, and the property owner's saying it doesn't exist.
Okay, I guess I'm outnumbered. Okay, based upon that, I have no further
Chris?
information to share.
I have no questions.
Tim,
I have no questions.
is there anyone in the public that would like to speak to this petition? I guess Mom and Mrs. are happy with what's been said, I guess, so. Okay, I'll entertain a motion in the case. I think we're gonna need our conditions here again.
Yeah.
Given the tightness of that area.
Okay.
You want to close the public hearing?
What's that?
Close the public hearing?
You didn't,
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't close the public hearing. You're right, no one wanted to speak. I'll move to close, well, I'm not voting in this case. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
so moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
From Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed. I'll entertain a motion in the case. Thanks, Shayla.
Case 2021-46. Scott R. Jordan, through his agent, attorney William Crowe, has applied for a special permit, and a special permit has been granted by the board to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling as well as detached one-story wooden frame building and shed. The applicant is pursuant to the Code of Town of Howard 32554 and 325 Table 2. Area regulation is set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 10. The property is located at 22 Northern Ave, Map 6, Parcel E5-17 and E5-18 in the RH1 zoning district. As in the preceding cases, there will be a condition placed upon this because of the congestion within that area. There shall be no demolition, exterior construction, or new landscaping during the period from June 30th to Labor Day of any year. It is a condition of this approval that a violation of the terms and conditions of the special permit may be enforced as a violation as the Howard zoning bylaw pursuant to MGL Chapter 48, Section 7, and the Howard zoning bylaw as these may be amended from time to time.
Could I have a second on that motion, please? Okay, second from Jamie. As with the other two cases, I think we're again looking at an intensification of a pre-existing one or more nonconformities. No new nonconformities being created, so I believe this application meets the requirements of the bylaw as well as the Gale and the Deirdre cases, and that a special permit may be appropriately granted by the board. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, special permit granted unanimously.
Thank you very
Good luck
much.
on your project, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll, just like the last person who spoke, our plan, we've been here for years, off and on, and I've been here since '85, that's why I brought my mother. We're excited to hopefully retire here, so thank you very much for your support, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay, right.
It's a good, good plan.
Thank you very
And
much.
they've been working on these plans for a year and a half to be here tonight.
Do us a favor, don't change them, please.
All right, you got it.
Nice staying here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You too.
Thanksgiving all, thank you.
Bothering you still?
What's that?
Bothers you still?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Have a good vacation.
Have a good Thanksgiving and a good vacation, Attorney Crowe. And Merry Christmas. I guess we won't see you before
Have a great trip.
Christmas either.
Yeah, enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, when they stop there.
There's the documents. There's the stamp. Okay, so let's talk about, well, first let's do the minutes. The last meeting we had was September 29th, 2021, of course. I have made two small changes from the the minutes that Shayla had submitted. One was on 2021-43. I think the minutes that came out had within 3 months, and that case, we didn't put a time limit on it, so I removed that. And I also suggested that in the justification for the special permit, we make the minutes consistent with what's in the decision, namely saying that the board found that the project will intensify, just what I read, one or more non-conformities, and so meet the bylaw, Gale case, and the Deirdre cases, and not subject the neighborhood to any more substantial detriment. So, did anyone else have comments on the September meetings? No? All in
No.
favor of the approving the
Motion
re-
to, motion? Need a motion?
Oh, that's right, we need a motion before a vote. Can I have a motion to approve the September meetings as revised?
So
Okay,
requested.
motion from Brian,
Second.
second from Al, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the meetings are approved, many minutes are approved. Let's discuss that concept for a couple of minutes about increasing the site coverage.
Yeah, I guess it, obviously, like, for instance, on the second one, well, even if you've gone a little higher, they're not maxing out the building coverage, so that, the site is still gonna look, pretty good to the rest of the neighborhood. And I know on the site coverage, where it's, in this particular case, that last case, they have, it's a patio, which is increasing a lot of the site coverage thing here, but it's, again, it's not an obstruction, but we've had some cases where, we're really pushing the envelope on the site coverage. And
I don't agree.
okay, and that's fine, that's just my opinion as far as, just from looking at it.
Like I said, it's not the increase, it's whether the increase has a substantial detriment on the neighborhood.
And I understand that.
That's the test.
And there's only been one case that I felt was over the top, that was at Clausen, 1 or 2 Clausen Lane, whatever, and that, when they
Down
took,
that long driveway?
yeah, and they took this, 105-foot shed and turned it into an 1,800 square foot garage, all right, so it's, but but as we take house A and we increase that by 10%, it doesn't look that bad in the neighborhood, and the next guy next to it, all of a sudden is going up another 10%. At what point, besides the fact of what we think is site coverage getting out of hand? Now, I realize that, one thing, is, again, back in the site coverage, driveways and patios, brick patios, are included. So I understand the town, when someone goes and goes for a building permit and put up a deck, wooden deck, it has to go in front of the building inspector. But actually, I don't think there's, patios have to get inspected, okay? So people are obviously, increasing site coverage, because of patios. But when it comes down to construction, I just want to point out the fact that, is there a point that besides, we're going to look at it, that the site coverage is it 60% okay, 70%? I mean, is there anything we're going to take a look at and saying, whoa, this is raising a red flag? That's all I want
I think you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're looking at the numbers, and I think the focus on what the cases say, and the bylaw too, is there a substantial detriment to the neighborhood?
I agree. I understand
Now,
that.
wait, let me finish. And when I look at substantial detriment, what would that be? Well, something that would be so outlandish that it's going to decrease the value of the surrounding houses, or significantly adversely impair the enjoyment of their properties.
I agree.
And I can't see site coverage ever rising to that level, especially down below 28. I mean, we just approved the house tonight, 2.5 feet, the last case, 2.5 feet off the front line.
Right, because that's how the situation is down there.
And that's the way it exists. And we had one a couple of years ago, where I think it was only at most 4 feet off any lot line.
So,
But so what?
Right.
It's not gonna it's gonna actually improve the value of the other houses. Because it's new construction, when you ride around that lower, below 28, there aren't too many houses that haven't been upgraded substantially. And with the upgrades, the prices are, going up. They're not a detriment to the neighborhood, they're driving the real estate values up. And that's what the cases tell us we need to look at, and the
So,
bylaw.
so why does zoning in the first place establish a 35% coverage?
Because when you're putting new construction in, those are the requirements.
No, I realize that, but why do they
We're
feel?
looking at non-conforming, which is a whole different class of buildings.
No, I understand that, but obviously on, if someone with a 40,000 square foot lot wanted to put in a new construction and he designs a patio and it puts him at 37%, the building inspector's not gonna approve it.
And should have, without a variance, if it's new construction.
Right, but the town at some point, or other towns, established a site coverage which they felt was, this is reasonable. And I guess
For new
for
construction,
new construction, and I recognize that.
right.
but-
But we're looking at
but-
old construction.
But why did the town feel that new construction should be limited to 35% when, if it was 45%, it really wouldn't affect the neighborhood?
That you'd have to talk to the town planners, I don't know.
That's, so,
They-
just
they-
looking at that as far as a benchmark, then seeing how some of the increases are going, and I understand I haven't seen much, except for
It has
one
nothing-
house that there was a
It has
substantial.
nothing to do with non-conforming
Right.
structures. That's where I think your problem is. We're
Well-
looking at non-conforming, where those rules don't really apply, because one or more of them have already been violated. That's why it's non-conforming.
I've kind of, sorry. I was wondering when I first joined, like, if there was kind of like a percentage you'd go over, if there's kind of, maybe it wasn't public, but what the board felt comfortable. But I guess a question, and Attorney Kroll, I think, answered it. A person who, say, like a 6% gets approved by this board, and then, in 2 months, 6% increase somewhere doesn't. On an appeal, you could never use a previous board decision saying, oh, he let me go up 6%, that wouldn't fly,
No.
correct? Okay.
We've always taken that position, that's why he keeps bringing it up. This board, our rule is, and probably any board, because you have to look at each one specially. There can't be precedent on real
Right,
estate.
that's the key, I think, excuse
Yeah.
me, David, is that you have to look at each one individually.
Right.
And that's,
Each property
and I
is unique.
understand the point you're
Yeah.
making too, but how do you define that?
Well, I realize that.
It has to be the lot in question.
I mean, obviously, it's hard to put a definition on it, but there's one Supreme Court justice once said about pornography, I can't define it, but I know when I see it.
Well, there you go, so,
Right,
so
it's-
if you
this-
know it when you see it,
Right,
right,
that's-
depending on each individual case, then we'll apply it.
You're correct, I understand that.
The way the town, I actually didn't answer that correctly, but the way the town standards come in is, let's say, it's 35% site coverage in a particular case. And they're within that, but now they want to put a patio, it's going to put them over it, no special permit, they would need a variance. Because now they're creating a new nonconformity because they meet existing site coverage or building coverage, whatever it might be, and now they want to violate it. Well, okay, you can't do that on special permit. Under the Deirdre case, it says you need a variance for that, because you're creating a new nonconformity.
One of the things you mentioned about building coverage, all buildings versus
Right.
patio or something. In both those cases, the building coverage was within regulation. None of them were out of,
Correct, that's correct.
so they were already, even without a variance, or any non-conforming, they were within conformance. It was the site coverage where the issue was. So I don't know what they added, but I know the one that we just had, they've got driveways and
Well, no,
doesn't matter whether it's shells.
they
or
added that
anything.
they pointed out that 50%, a lot of that had to do with the patio they're putting back there. And in most cases in this town, since the town doesn't require you to get a building permit for a patio, he could have cut that out and put it in later. And it doesn't require a building permit.
They don't require a building permit for a patio?
No.
No, really?
So these cases, when you see these patios, they want to just,
I've never put a patio in, so I don't know.
No, you don't, I think if it's a wall involved, you might need one, you know,
Well,
but if you just put it on the ground, you're not required to have a building permit. So if you want to be within that thing here, just don't include it in the plan, and later on, go put it in the town doesn't.
But all the times I went to towns outside of Massachusetts with a sketch of a patio, would never do that here.
But if it's a deck, you know, put something on the ground, build a deck, now it has to have a building
But if
permit.
they don't get a building permit and they exceed site coverage, they're creating a non-conformance potentially.
Well, you've actually created a violation.
You have, I
If it
mean,
gets
but,
picked up when you go to sell
Right,
your
I was
house,
just gonna say.
then you're gonna have a
Somebody will
problem.
get picked up.
But-
Real
That's,
estate
that's not when
transfer.
you,
Yeah.
and it will be picked up, because when they do the title search and survey, assuming they have, buyer's got a lawyer, which I think most buyers do, they're gonna pick it up, and you're gonna have to fix that somehow.
or if it's over 10 years, you won't.
Well, okay,
No, not just, you're past 10 years, it's.
yeah,
you
we did
can't
have
go back.
that case last time, which was September, I guess, where the prior owner had put in a patio that violated the site coverage.
We had one with tennis court as well.
And we let it go, but if it's, if they're selling it, the buyer's attorney might want proof that it's more than 10 years. And if not,
That's true, yeah.
you're gonna, if you wanna sell your house at that price, you're gonna have to fix it at your cost. So
Yeah.
that's how these things get picked up
So true.
in the real world.
What about, if there's like conservation commission, or conservation violations, like if you're getting too close to a wetland, I feel like that could happen, does that have 10 years too?
No,
Or
I think whenever you violate conservation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it gets picked up, they
I
can
was gonna
fine
say-
you.
Yeah, there's no,
That's-
yeah, that's a, yeah,
Big, yeah.
Fine, you're gonna have to do a remediation plan, maybe not a fine, depends. Because there was one down the end of our street just
Yeah.
recently,
Yep.
where they went into Money Creek.
right.
And I don't think they were fined, but they did have to do remediation, which actually probably costs more than a fine would have. But once you're caught, so.
Yeah.
All right, changing the subject.
Can I,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had a concern too, I just wanted to really quickly bring up. And that is that currently the town still doesn't have a building inspector, commissioner rather. And I think that a commissioner and consistency of having a commissioner that reviews these plans, that refers them to, in their opinion, to this board to review, is extremely important. And I'm at a loss as to know why this town does not have a building commissioner. And I think perhaps we should find out from selectmen or whoever.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well.
I'm not finding out, but you,
Well, I just think as a board,
Um,
it might be something we want to think about, because consistency matters.
well, now you're getting into town politics, and I'm not about to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not.
Well, I don't know if it's politics or if it's,
Well, there's politics all over, that's why our last
Well-
building inspector isn't here anymore.
well, I don't know the reasons.
Well, I don't
but-
know, but it wasn't, it happened suddenly, which tells me as a former employment lawyer,
Okay,
didn't
but,
leave
but,
voluntarily.
okay, so is there a time over which we should be concerned?
we're still getting denial letters that we can act on. I don't understand the
But
problem.
well, the problem that I see potentially is that when you have various people filling in for commissioner, to an extent, there is an opinion on whether or not this is referred to this board.
That's true whether we have a full-time commissioner or not. They have discretion whether they want to deny it or let it go, and
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that if you have someone filling in for that, or several people doing it, there may not be consistency. That's my only concern.
no, I understand that, but I'm not going down that path.
I understand.
Now, you can go to the selectmen's meeting. I'm not trying to be a
No,
wise
no,
guy.
no, I
And
understand.
pose the question, because I don't know what's going on, and I don't really care, frankly. They can get a building inspector when they get one. I'm much more concerned when I can hook up to the sewer, which is another thing in limbo.
really.
I understand.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
What's this? I
mention
didn't
it.
get one of these.
Well, we have a-
That's exactly what we were looking at. I have one for you if you like. This
We
is-
have a liaison, selecting a liaison. Can we just ask her the
This
question?
was,
This one about the, you said,
I don't
let's
know.
bring this up.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm gonna write a letter, so.
Hey,
No,
yeah, I don't know what's going on.
At some point, a number of years ago, we had a sheet with the zoning, the years the zoning changed.
Oh, I can send
Can we
you
get a
those.
copy of that again? I seem to
Sure.
misplace the one I had.
So the way that works now is whenever somebody has, we get a lot of questions about buildability, and we are told not to answer with anything definitive, of course. So I usually send back, here are some of the factors you're gonna have to solve before you get an answer. And here's a copy of this zoning chart. If a lot has no building that's ever been on it, the date the lot was created is the date that we'll go back to for the zoning that will apply.
Really?
Okay.
So new construction aside, if a lot is, from 1964, I have this chart which will show you that there are considerably different requirements that were available then that you now can apply to a new building on that lot.
We're gonna be getting that.
Actually,
The property's coming in here with exactly that issue.
Yeah, so I will email those out to you.
I actually thought once the zoning changed, the lot owner had so many years to build something or he wasn't gonna comply.
No, that's only if you have a building on it and it gets destroyed, you have so many years before you can rebuild it.
Right.
Or whatever timing it is, I'm not exactly sure.
There's a variance or special permit.
Yeah.
If it's billed as a right, you can do it whenever, but
So-
you're subject to the new regulations.
So that's similar to building code in that the year in which the structure was built, that is what applies to it. Is that similar?
I don't know,
Yeah,
I don't know how that applies with
Okay.
building code. I don't even
Okay,
get into
all right.
that realm. That's why I like to depend upon the building commissioner.
I understand.
Okay, I sent around the letter from Warren Brody
Okay,
on the Habitat for Humanity. I don't think we need to do anything, it's really for information. I had no discussion with Mr. Brody. I did talk to Jonathan Eidman about it. And basically, my position was the conditions there, and they can do whatever they want at their risk. If they want to ignore it, okay. But if the neighbors want to make an issue of it, that's their problem, not ours. We put the condition in for the historic designation. I don't believe they can wash their hands of it, as Attorney Brody said, but,
When was that case?
what's that?
When was that case?
Oh, this was,
February 2017?
17.
yeah, 2017. It's Habitat Development down here in West Harwich. That's
I'm
pretty much up now.
Yeah, it is.
And it has to do with the two wrecks of buildings that the neighbors love because they're historic, but they're eyesores. I mean, they're terrible, but
There's actually three with the same name down there. The Chase Building, plus the property was actually done over by that woman who owned it, the beautiful yellow home now, and she did over it. That's also a Chase Building, and there seem to be all kinds of Chase buildings down there.
I happen to agree with Attorney Brody's position. We never intended the Habitat occupancy permits to be subject to that recording of the conservation restriction. So there's nothing for us to do. I don't know if John got back to him or not. I doubt it, but in any event, okay, our last item here that Shayla passed out. This was a case that we approved.
two here.
in-
Oh, all right.
Do you have one? You got it?
September.
Okay.
I think it was at our
Yes, that
September
was a
meeting.
recent one, so
Okay.
if you
Oh,
open
you
it
got- yeah,
up,
you
got-
so
you got
you
it.
get two.
Oh, okay, that's why I didn't get one. Okay.
Oh,
So you get one now.
all right.
Okay, this is what they requested, the first one. That's what the front looked like. No, that's not true.
No, it says right here, so
Okay, existing front, okay, that's this one. And proposed,
this was what was approved.
okay, I see. This is the one that we approved, and it's in a nice color. And now they want to go back to this. And the question is, do we need them to come back in here again? And we won't charge them, but they'll have to file and come back. I guess in looking at it now, their proposed looks nothing at all to me like the one that we approved. And I think we ought to drag them back in here. That's my 2 cents. So the neighbors can take a look at what they're proposing now.
Has the site plan changed at all? It's just the
Nothing has
same?
changed, it's a style.
Just the style?
Yeah,
So-
they're going back to what it originally looked like,
So height, setbacks, nothing's changed.
according to what I was told.
Well,
How can you-
just a
You can't
question,
really tell.
Not from this, right?
just a question though, I mean, the style of a home really hasn't come up in the past. In this board, has it? I mean,
I mean, I'll think being
Technically,
equal.
we're not supposed to, well, let me put it another way.
Sure.
The style is only meaningful if it's gonna have a substantially
Right.
detrimental effect on the
Right.
neighborhood. The reason I would bring them back is
Mhm.
give the neighbors a chance to complain if they don't like it, frankly. I guess what I don't want is the board being seen as approving what's a fairly significant deviation from what we approved without the neighbors having a chance to comment if they want to.
But the deviation doesn't seem to change the site coverage, doesn't, I don't know, because I haven't got it in front of me, but, I mean, if it doesn't change any of the requirements, site coverage, so forth and so on, and the neighbors are going to come in here, you're gonna have about a 30-second opportunity for them to talk, because you could wind up having a rather long and lengthy conversation with people who are gonna complain.
No, it's okay. They're entitled. I'd rather have them complain at a public hearing than after the fact to the selectmen that we didn't give them a chance to review the changes, significant changes. And also, I guess I want to see the site plan to make sure things haven't changed on the ground. How do we know?
okay,
We
that's,
don't,
We don't know.
not based on that.
that's a
Just
good,
based
that's a
on
good
this.
point, yeah.
I-
So, is there a requirement that they come back in if they, do they, so
Well, yeah, because
we
they can't.
approved the plan, they must do that plan.
Right.
If they change that plan,
Exactly.
they must come back.
Well, if it's insubstantial or a minor change, we have approved a minor change. Let's say they wanted to go 6 inches farther on the easterly lot line, but not creating a new nonconformity. Yeah, I mean, who cares?
Right.
But look at this plan and this plan, and they don't resemble each other in any way, manner, or form. And I guess if they're doing that, let's see what they want to actually do on the ground. How do we know what they're,
We
ultimately
don't
gonna
see the
do?
back of that property either.
what's that?
We don't see the rear of that property either.
Yeah, I think we ought to make them do a whole new submission.
Okay, well then it works out so that I have a deadline next week that they should be able to get in by December 30th.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying to delay it, but I
Yeah.
just think we should advertise it
Yeah.
again and we should
You
look at
you
it.
raise a good point.
Yeah.
And, because I don't want us to be the fall guy if something happens with the neighborhood. You know, we need to support the citizenry and we're town function, so, town board.
We don't want to open a door for somebody else to do the same thing.
Well, yeah, and heaven forbid we say okay, and they've now changed the lot lines, and now we've got a hell of a mess.
That's a big problem.
Yeah,
So usually we have a return for modification, and it doesn't require all of the plans, but we're gonna look for site,
we want us, we
a
want,
site plan with the compliance chart.
we want their building plans and the site plan, both the existing and the new proposed. And if there's no change to the site plan, they can tell us
Okay.
that. Now, I don't know, do we just discussed it, I don't know, do we need to make a motion on this?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
It's discussing whether we're gonna.
Well, but we
hold
do
to-
want it in the minutes, though, so,
Okay, you decide.
yeah, under new minutes, I will make a motion that in case number, do we have the case number? Where was it?
So I will fill that in when you come.
Yeah, well, whatever the case, you can just insert that into the
Yeah,
minutes,
alright.
in case number, whatever it is, I don't know what I did with the minutes. The board moves that the applicant will resubmit complete building plans and existing and proposed site plans. And we will waive the payment of a reapplication filing fee. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second from Al. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, I think it's better to do it as a motion, that way it'll be in the minutes.
Just a procedural question. If this were to occur after we had reviewed and approved something, and the building commissioner or the building inspector noticed a difference in the, would that be enforced at that point, or would it be referred
That's
back?
where we've had questions before, where we've
Yeah.
gotten things where if the dormer looks different.
Yeah.
Or whether they decided to put double windows
Yes.
instead of single windows. And people often are, because it says right on the decision, according to the plans submitted,
Yes,
people are pretty good about coming in and saying, we just wanna change this. And then those are things that I always bring to the commissioner to say, do you think that's substantial enough? And then he usually is talked to,
Yeah.
run something by Dave, and the decision has been, if it's something minor, like the kind of
right,
window or.
right.
But when it's something a little more.
Exactly, or a change of material.
Yeah, yeah.
But something like this is pretty significant.
Yeah, no,
mean,
I-
Now that I saw it,
Yeah.
I had asked Shayla to have the people, they said the architect will give us the new proposed one, because
It looks so
I couldn't
similar
tell
to
what
the
was
original.
going on.
I was
It-
gonna
it-
say,
it
it looked
does.
like they just copied the
It
dormer.
looks so
I
similar
know.
to the original, they decided to go more traditional, but it isn't what was approved.
I
Yes,
understand. Yep,
but like, they've got
Part
these
of the new house,
6,
part of the old house.
7 little squares above, I still don't know
I
what
don't
they
know what those
mean.
mean either.
I don't know if that's window
Those are
proposals
apartments.
or
No.
what that is. No, I don't know, maybe it's window configuration, I don't really know. So anyway, okay. Did anybody want, I printed them off before I emailed it, did anybody want that little explanation of why a case must come before us when they go into the,
Okay, I'll take it.
that was
This
help,
is-
that was helpful.
It was very good.
I don't, do I get one? I'd love to see it.
either Joe or Dave asked me for this, I don't remember who.
I think it was Dave.
If you don't have enough,
Oh,
just
sorry.
email me one, I'll.
Oh, no, I've
Yeah,
got them.
No, I can look check email.
Yeah, it's in the email, it's
Yeah.
an attachment. Yeah, you can actually have it.
No, I've got
I
one.
can, I'll check my.
Oh, Tim, did you get one?
No, I can check.
Here,
I
I'll give it,
printed
I've
out
got extra
tomorrow.
one.
Thank you.
So Shayla, would you just run by that whole thing we discussed with regard to the zoning, the date of the zoning, and if I understood you correctly, is the property, they dated back to 1964,
So if a lot was created,
okay?
and so you have to do the deed research to find, title research to find when was this lot created.
Right.
If it was created at whatever date, that chart I'm gonna send you will show you how to jump to where we're gonna look at that line across for building coverage, site coverage, which back then, there was no requirement on building and site coverage in 62. And generally, it wasn't it was more like a 75-foot frontage and different size of lot, different setback requirements.
Yeah,
et
I'm
cetera.
thinking about, we got a couple, some properties here that up on certain paths seem as though they're being developed. Now, if they're gonna be developed today, and those properties are actually date back to the 1950s and 1960s, that'd be rather interesting.
Wasn't there a property on 39, Route 39 there? Between the Rotary and Stop and Shop
Yes.
that came up? And it was a thing, I think,
I wanna say.
probably a year ago.
That the one where their house sits, they.
Right on the corner of the
Yeah,
road
I
in
know.
39.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah, they just finished it,
Yeah.
in fact.
they did.
But that was the thing where it was like, the subdivision thing was submitted like the day of or the day
Right,
out.
yes,
right,
yes,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right,
70
that was
something,
that
yes,
one.
yeah.
And then when you have a subdivision that's been approved, sometimes there are subdivision requirements that are different and approved by the planning board. That sometimes
Yeah, a lot of people did that when the zoning changes were
Yeah.
proposed. A lot of people slammed
jumped
in
in,
Right.
subdivisions.
yeah.
And you got my request to give me one of
Yes.
those reports.
I will get that to you.
December 6th, I have to make the annual report to the Board of Selectmen, and basically, tell them what we've been doing this year, how many special permits, variances, so on and so forth, attendance at the meetings, and, oh, I don't remember what the other requirements are here, let's see.
One of it was the members, if you have sufficient members.
Yeah, sufficient members, everybody up to date with their ethics training, here it is. Members sworn in, yes. Do we need support? No. Members' attendance, yeah, posting agendas and meetings, always, so we're in good shape. Last year, Mr. Howell and I had a little set to because he thought everybody should be attending more 40B hearings. He's on the Affordable Housing Committee, and that's a big interest of his.
More 40B training, you mean?
Training meetings.
Training,
And I didn't tell him last year because I was already getting really aggravated and getting a little hot. One of the other selectmen, Larry Valentine, sort of got me off the track there to calm me down. But yeah, Howell really aggravated me. But anyway, he was doing his job. I've calmed down now, and I can understand where he's coming from. The problem is, and this year, if it comes up, I'm gonna tell him, most of those 40B training sessions, like the one you went to.
I did.
They're not for zoning members, okay? They're about the need for affordable housing. Yeah, we all know that. What we need, and what I would go to too, is a training session, especially where it's a mixed 40B with a market rate component. We've never had one in Harwich, and I'm not exactly sure how you do it. I don't think it's all that different from the regular one, but I would have to go back and spend some time with the regulations, and a lot of the towns have had them recently. Eastham had one, Truro, I think it was Truro or Wellesley, one of them had a big one up there.
Boston's got a
Yarmouth
right now.
has had them.
Well, the proposed one on Sessions isn't that, it's got so many 40B, I mean, for low income, but that also has market rate in it.
Yes.
It does, so it's a mix.
That's the one they're trying to put down behind the police and fire
Right.
station.
Yeah.
Chloe Lane.
But the
Chloe Path.
Path, that's right, excuse me.
The selectmen still have not okayed it. They want to do something called a local initiative 40B, I think they call it, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
A lip or something, I like, yeah.
I think it lets them bypass some of the requirements with the state.
Yes,
It gives the town a little more control.
a little more.
Well,
It
not
becomes a-
really. It gives the
becomes a
developer,
friendly 40B as opposed to going through the whole routine
Right.
that the state has passed.
before they ever come to us in zoning, they have to go to the state and get qualified. There's a whole bunch of regulations that they have to meet with the state to get it qualified, I guess is the word, as a 40B project. And then when they're ready to go ahead, they come here to zoning. And we act on behalf of all of the town
Regulatory
agencies
boards, yeah.
and boards, except health and building. The building code, they still have to comply with the state building code and with the health and safety and environmental regulations. But like, if there's gonna be a traffic issue, well, we will work with the police department or the fire department if we wanna know about ambulances getting in and out. But we are the ones that drive that whole process.
It's a comprehensive permit.
So that would be, opinions would be sent out to other boards prior to that
Right,
meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it, sometimes we have to require them, I know we've done that in the
Right.
past, where
Yeah.
you required a traffic study, or you required an
Yep.
environmental study, or
Right.
a review of an environmental study.
We do a lot of listening.
You know.
We've never required a study, but, well, let me put it another way. Yes, I think we have on traffic. We've never initiated our own study, which we can do. We've let the developer do it, and then I think we asked the highway department and maybe the police department
To review that.
to review
Yeah.
their submission, and we felt comfortable, because they were smaller projects. The one down on, if it ever comes to pass, down there behind the police and fire
It's a
station.
larger
that's
project.
different, I forget how many units, over
96.
100, 120, 160?
96.
90, okay, so that's a big deal. So that one, I think, I would
24
definitely
HB.
be looking for help from town council. We'll have them involved. Some boards have town council sit in, and we might do that too. I don't know. I'll have to talk to the town council.
Last time we had town council with us, the one we did down here in West Harwich, I think we had town council with us.
I
Oh,
think,
was it the
They sat in on a few.
no, that was
Wow.
something
the young-
different. Yeah, that was a different one.
young lady from Boston?
We had Attorney Singer representing Hetch
Right.
and Attorney Brody representing Habitat. And there was a, what's her name?
Yeah.
A woman woman attorney that was representing.
She's from a Boston firm.
Wait a minute, I'll get it in a second.
We've seen her
Yep,
before.
Yep.
She's been before us, and she's pretty good. I can't
Toronto-
think of her name. Is it
Toronto.
Lisa?
No, it's something Toronto,
You're right, Toronto Flores.
Flores, yeah.
And I don't remember who she represented, but we had 3 lawyers involved in the mix, which made it very interesting.
Well, didn't we have 4? Didn't we have David Reed representing some of the,
Oh, you're right,
Yeah.
David Reed,
Yeah.
yes, who's never
Opponents.
appeared before us except in opposition, and he's very, very good. He's a good lawyer.
He's the one that's opposing the Truro one
Yep. He's opposing the Royal down here.
and the Royal.
Yeah.
Is that still tied up?
As far as I know, it's in litigation, because it's deteriorating, it's behind the fence there.
Yeah.
And that's out of our jurisdiction.
The planning
Had
board
the
took that
new-
one, yeah.
The new zoning.
New
put
zoning,
it-
yeah.
The new zoning requirement that the planning board administers, so the
Yeah,
planning board
The
approved.
density disappeared.
High density, or I forget what it was called.
Yep.
I'm not pushing along, I just have to stand every now and
It's
then.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, does anyone have anything else? No, with that, I will ask for a motion to close our meeting at 8:25. So moved by Chris, second. Second Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Hearing closed. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you as
To
well.
all of you
Thank
as
you.
well.
And Christmas.
And Christmas.
And Merry Christmas, yeah, that's right. We meet after Christmas.
So when is our next meeting?
December
December
5th.
30th of
30th.
December, I think.
30th of December, wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Kayla, thanks for the mask.
You're welcome, you came
Yeah,
from
looks
the
good.
health department, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Snappy.
Kind of suave.
Yeah, well, you always look smart.
He does, with the hat in particular.
The hat,
I
absolutely.
think that was what does it.
Well, the mask sets it off nicely.
Good thing I can ignore you.
Hold on. Wait, I- Can you read your, I'm supposed to put this right off before we
You gonna get